Sukha Asana. Step number 1 of meditation, Sthira Sukha Asanam. On the base of relaxation, the meditation happens. Sthira Sukha Asanam means my body must be in a position which is relaxed but alert, and that is possible when the head, neck, backbone is straight. In this position, there is no other part which is stressed out, or there is more pressure on any other part. If I'm sitting on a chair, then both the legs must be grounded and not hanging. Best is to sit cross-legged. Let us lock our fingers because hands are the organs where constant movement happens at the finger level, hand level. So those who are practicing daily, I must give a couple of minutes for this. Or even if I'm not practicing meditation, just to practice Sthira Sukha Asanam is a very important step. When the body is still, the mind automatically quietens down. Step number 2, Sankalpa. I take resolve for next 10 minutes. My main role is sadhak. Asangoham, 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 punah, punah. I'm not attached to world, objects, situations, relationships. I am the seeker of truth, God, self. And I sit with resolutions that I can experience it in this sitting. With a lot of love and clarity. It is all that I will not get distracted, disturbed by any other outside circumstances and inner thoughts, feelings. To strengthen the resolve, I invoke God's grace, Guru Parampara's blessings by imagining between the eyebrows form, guna, kriya of my Ishtadevata or Guru. The more clearly I see, the more feelings will be generated towards the Ishtadevata or Guru. If I'm not able to see, then I must keep one photograph, open the eyes, see it, close the eyes, imagine that between the eyebrows, slowly, slowly, the form becomes very clear inside. I can very clearly see the form by closing the eyes also. Invoke God's grace and Ishtadevata's grace and blessings, imagining that golden blue light is emanating from Guru, God, or Om, and we are scanning the entire body from head to toe. The head is completely relaxed, shoulders, back, spinal cord, chest, stomach. completely relaxed and healed with the golden blue light. Buttocks, groin, thighs, knees, calf muscles, shin, ankle, feet, head to toe. My body is completely relaxed and healed, and this body doesn't call for any attention. I withdraw the mind from the body, withdraw the attention from the body, and focus on the breath. Just observing the breath, the inhalation, exhalation, consciously breathing, not allowing any breath to come out or go inside without my full attention. Entire attention on the breath. If any other thought comes and I get distracted, I again come back to the breath. I can feel the breath inside my nostril where it is touching. I can feel the breath on my upper lip where it is touching. I can feel which nostril is more operational. The more the mind gets subtle, the more I can observe the breath. I can feel the stomach moving by inhalation, exhalation. If the mind is gross and there are many thoughts already happening, then I can focus on the stomach initially and at the navi level and see the stomach coming out when I inhale, going inside when I exhale. And then again, I can shift to the breath. This is a constant practice a sadhak does, withdrawing the mind from the world to the body to the breath. Next step, as given in Amritabindu Upanishad, I will take support of sound and then focus on silence. Using the Om as the symbol of Brahman, Atma. So I will chant 12 times Om, where we will focus on the sound, and 3 times where we will focus between the two sounds, that is a silence, which is also the background of the sound. Silence is always there, will be there, was there, sound comes and goes. Oh. 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 Oh, oh. Now I focus on the silence, and when the mind focuses on silence, it has nothing to cognize. And when there is nothing to cognize for the ego dissolves, and there is recognition of my own real self. So, cognition and recognition, these are the two steps where the realization happens. When the mind starts enjoying the silence, it starts getting absorbed in the silence, as even Bible says, be silent and know God. Oh. I can even stop the breath after saying Om, so that when the breath stops, there is silence and there is no other thought also initially to practice. Om. Om. This is a clear process of realization, from shifting the attention from idam to aham, from gross to subtle, and then like a pole vault using the Om sound as a support, but leaving the word, leaving the sound. As the pole vault is left, the pole vaulter jumps over the sound and the silence, and the mind silence becomes the Atma silence. The peace of the mind dissolves in the peace of the Atma. So let us invoke God's grace, because only with grace the final step happens, like deep sleep or sleep. We can do all arrangements. We can put on the AC, we can put on music, we can do chanting, but when sleep will envelop, that is not in my control. In the same way, the sadhak all the way always is ready, but when the final moment will happen, when the sleep will come, that is not in my hand. So let us invoke grace and blessings to keep us on this path and attainment of total fulfillment, the infinite, where even the finite is accomplished. Some people think if I realize, then I will lose all these joys and this enjoyments. No. In infinite, the finite also is accomplished. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो वरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। स्थावरं जङ्गमं व्याप्तं यत्किञ्चित् सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत् सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्।
Hari Om. Thank you, Vidya. So, we have covered 11 verses of Amritabindu Upanishad, and the 11 verses summary is like this, that the Upanishadic sadhak intellectually knows that I am Atma, but I don't have the actual experience. Why? Because of ignorance. So, what is the ignorance? The ignorance is I am body, mind, intellect, and the world is real. So, the suffering happens. How the suffering happens? Because when I believe strongly that I am body, mind, intellect, and there is world is real, then the mind, the senses will always seek happiness from the world, because it has to seek happiness. That is a not a created goal, it is a natural goal. It is not a created desire, it is not adopted desire, it is a natural desire. It will seek whatever is in front of it. So now we have to listen carefully, because the body, mind, intellect unknowingly, knowingly seeks happiness from the world. It creates, seeks dirts in the mind, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsara, and then in Amritabindu mentioned, sankalpa always is what? Sankalpa precedes all these things. There is always a sankalpa that I want to experience this, I want to know this, I want to have this, I want to possess this, I want to gain this, and this will give me happiness. That is where the trap happens. So then what is to be done? First of all, using the 4 yogas, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, whatever yoga, I have to purify my mind. Purification means I have to remove these impurities. And when the mind is quiet, then I have to do Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasanam. So that also gives us another clear answer, that if my mind is not pure and peaceful and I am listening to Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, I will understand, but I will not experience it. So Karma Yoga becomes very, very important in our day-to-day practices, what we do. So after the Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasanam, I have to learn about what is the nature of Atma. I know that I am Atma, but what is the nature? So all Upanishads give pointers. In Amritabindu Bindu Upanishad, what are the pointers? That whatever we have learnt in the 9, 10th, 11th, that Atma is Nirvikalpam, Anantam, Hetu Drushtanta Varjitam, Aprameyam, Anadim, that means it is divisionless, endless, logicless, comparisonless, beginningless, measureless, it cannot be measured. And from Atma point of view, there is no creation, no dissolution, no nirodha, no utpatti, no baddha, no sadhaka. There is no liberated, there is no bondage, there is no rebirth. From Atma point of view. And then there is no deep sleep, dream state, and his waking state also from Atma point of view, because that is a substratum of all these three states and it is there in all three states. As Ramana Maharshi says that we don't give so much of importance to dream state after waking up. In the same way, a person who has woken up to Turiya state, from that standpoint of view, the waking state also is a long dream, because the ego who is experiencing the waking state is dissolved. So the person doesn't say that I was so and so, I was so and so. That entity itself dissolves. And in the last session, we saw a deeper analysis of the deep sleep state, which is the closest to the Turiya state. So when we say that Paramananda Prapti also, we have to be very clear that Ananda means it is not some Ananda what we experience like an emotion in our day-to-day life. This is basically the closest word what will come is peace. What we experience in deep sleep, the same experience is there in Samadhi. As Gurudev explains that Samadhi is wakeful sleep. So it is Shantichi Pai Shanti. Jnaneshwar Maharaj says. Nisargadatta Maharaj says, rock like silence, which is all the time there with me, and these experiences come and go, thoughts come and go, but that rock like peace never leaves me. So it is not like this dancing or the happiness what we know in our day-to-day life, which is contact generated. This is also very important because I must know what is the final state also. And as Swami Advayananji says, many people think that in that state it will be boring, there will be nothing, but in that infinite state, all finite joys also are accomplished. Because in that finite also is there. So in the 11th verse, we saw that self which is ek, ek, ek eva mantavya, which is beyond Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, dream state, deep sleep state, and waking state. And one who knows this goes beyond Punarjanma. That is what we saw last time. So knowing this is realizing our own self. So immediately one question would come, oh, that means, this is a very famous question. Oh, that means that everyone will have different Atmas. If I realize, other person also has to get realized, because Atma is one only. When Adi Shankaracharya has realized, I must also get realization. Why I am not realized? Because his Atma and my Atma are one only. So next 12th verse addresses this question, that it is only reflection. So this 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. So we can cover today 12, 13, 14. There is an analogy given in 12, 13, 14. And the analogy is of one moon and many, many vessels. So we will see that analogy, how this question or this doubt is addressed by Amritabindu Upanishad. So I would request Vidya to chant 1 to 11, once and 12th verse twice.
Okay, sir. मनो हि द्विविधं प्रोक्तं शुद्धं चाशुद्धमेव च अशुद्धं कामसङ्कल्पं शुद्धं कामविवर्जितं मन एव मनुष्याणां कारणं बन्धमोक्षयोः बन्धाय विषयासक्तं मुक्तं निर्विषयं स्मृतं यतो निर्विषयस्यास्य मनसो मुक्तिरिष्यते अतो निर्विषयं नित्यं मनः कार्यं मुमुक्षुणा निरस्तविषयासङ्गं सन्निरुद्धं मनोहृदि यदा यात्यात्मनो भावं तदा तत्परमं पदम् तावदेव निरोद्धव्यं यावत् हृदि गतं क्षयम् एतत् ज्ञानं च ध्यानं च शेषो न्यायश्च विस्तरः नैव चिन्त्यं न चाचिन्त्यं न चिन्त्यं चिन्त्यमेव तत् पक्षपातविनिर्मुक्तं ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा स्वरेण सन्धयेत् योगम् अस्वरं भावयेत् परम् अस्वरेणानुभावेन भावो वा भाव इष्यते तदेव निष्कलं ब्रह्म निर्विकल्पं निरञ्जनं तद्ब्रह्माहमिति ज्ञात्वा ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते ध्रुवम् निर्विकल्पम् अनन्तं च हेतुदृष्टान्तवर्जितम् अप्रमेयमनादिं च यज्ञात्वा मुच्यते बुधः न निरोधो न चोत्पत्तिः न बद्धो न च साधकः न मुमुक्षुर्न वै मुक्तः इत्येषा परमार्थता एक एवात्मा मन्तव्यो जाग्रत् स्वप्न सुषुप्तिषु स्थानत्रयव्यतीतस्य पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते एक एव हि भूतात्मा भूते भूते व्यवस्थितः एकधा बहुधा चैव दृश्यते जलचन्द्रवत् एक एव हि भूतात्मा भूते भूते व्यवस्थितः एकधा बहुधा चैव दृश्यते जलचन्द्रवत्.
Very nice chanting, Vidya. The self in all beings is one alone, residing in every being. It is seen as one and as many, like the moon, like one moon reflected in many buckets of water or in different bodies of the water. So the philosophy is very clear, the school of thought is very clear. There is one God, many forms. In one way, we can say. There is one Atma which reflects in all buckets or bodies of the water. The self in me, self in all, not at the level of body, mind, intellect, but at the level of Atma, this has been mentioned. So our bodies are different, minds are different, and the purification process is different. That is the difference at the body, mind, intellect level. But from Atma level, there is oneness. So like one moon. So what is moon? Is equal to Atman. Water is equal to mind and vessel is equal to body. So the example analogy is very clear. The analogy taken here is one moon and there are many buckets of water kept. So the buckets are red color, yellow color, green color, blue color, and the water also is different quality. Some water is turbid, some water is colorful, some water is very violent, some water is moving, some water is very clear, still, transparent. So which water will reflect the moons? In all the buckets, moon is reflecting. So from moon point of view, moon is disinterested whether, what kind of bucket, what kind of water. From the ocean point of view, there are lakhs and lakhs of bubbles, froth, waves. One bubble gets realized, doesn't matter to the ocean. One bubble is ignorant, doesn't matter to the bubble. One bubble breaks, doesn't matter to the bubble. Another 10 bubbles are formed, whether forms are created, forms are destroyed. We say so many people died, so many people are born, this war, that war. From ocean point of view, it is waves, froth, bubbles. Nothing happens to the ocean. So here very clearly, one appears, many is a very clear logic what has been given. This is very important verse because this sorts out lot of doubts and questions what people ask that how come Hinduism has many gods? We do not have many gods. We have one God, many forms. We have one self reflecting in all different vessels. If that we remember, then we can talk. Where there is oneness, there is love and compassion. So this Bhakti Yoga is recommended that every transaction must come out of love and compassion. Everything I do is out of love and compassion because everything is Ishavasyam idagam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. Everywhere that is reflected. So once I start practicing that this object is having Brahman, this object is God, that is where the Bhakti Yoga tells us to practice that everywhere you see God in that particular person, that particular object. As Nisargadatta Maharaj says, love is knowing I am everything. Wisdom is knowing I am nothing. Between the two banks, my life flows. Between nothingness and everything. When I think that I am everything, love comes. And when I think that I am nothing, like what will a bhakti yogi will say, Bhagwan, you are everything. And what will a jnani? Jnani will say, Aham Brahmasmi, I am everything. So I think all of us must write down this and focus because when we go out, this will be the kind of questions people ask. Especially suppose you are meeting ISKCON people, they will talk about Dvaita. So Bhakti Yogi people will say, Bhagwan, you are everything. In that everything, I am also included. And a Jnani will say, Aham Brahmasmi, I am everything. That I am everything is not the ego, it is the Atma. Aham Atma Gudakesha. That Atma is talking. So again, this verse is clarifying many doubts in Vedanta that if Atma is one, then if one person realizes, everybody should get realized. But that is not the case because from Atma point of view, there is no bondage and liberation. Who is bonded? Who feels that one is bonded? The Jiva. And what is Jiva? Body, mind, intellect, identification. There is where the difference happens. So we'll take second example. So I would request Vidya to chant 13 and 14 both. Another example, which is a very famous example. So these examples we must remember. One example is of sun or moon and different buckets of water. So there are three things, sun or moon, whatever we want to take. Bucket is equal to body, water is equal to mind. Mind means mana buddhi chitta ahankara. And the reflection is what? Chidabhasa, ego. So now another example coming. What is this example? Very popular example of Vedanta. Vedanta, there are some very popular example. First example, everyone should know that is snake and the rope. And the second example is pot and space. So here what has been mentioned is a very interesting one, is that there is space and there is pot. Now we must not start looking at the pot. Our body is the pot. So I want to ask one question to all of you, whether you are in the space or space is inside you. Whether your flat which is there, it is inside the space or the space is inside your flat. When your building goes for redevelopment, then what? Now you can go and see Saraswati Vidyalaya. Where is that second floor? Where is that room where we were sitting for the class? So whether that room is in the space or that space is in the room. So now we have to change the pot and space to Jiva and Atma. And then this analogy becomes very clear. So we will chant this and then analyze these 13 and 14 together.
घटसंवृतम् आकाशम् नीयमाने घटे यथा घटो नीयेत नाकाशः तथा जीवो नभोपमः घटवत् विविधाकारम् भिद्यमानं पुनः पुनः तद्भग्नं न च जानाति स जानाति च नित्यशः घटसंवृतमाकाशम् नीयमाने घटे यथा घटो नीयेत नाकाशः तथा जीवो नभोपमः घटवत् विविधाकारम् भिद्यमानं पुनः पुनः तद्भग्नं न च जानाति स जानाति च नित्यशः.
So space is covered by a pot, just as movement of the pot and pot also. So is the pot, when the pot moves, does the space move? The answer is no. So there are various forms of the pot which are broken again and again, yet the space in the pot does not know and is not affected in the same way. Nothing happens to Atma when the bodies dissolve in the Panchamahabhuta and again from Panchamahabhuta different bodies are created. So we will analyze 13 and 14. Space is equal to Atman. No movement, no direction, emptiness, no inside, no outside, cannot be created, destroyed, undivided, indivisible, all pervading. So actually this is very important because space comes closest to Atman in terms of qualities except one. Space is an element. Space is inert where Atman is sentient. Consciousness is there in Atman. That is the only difference. Otherwise, all these attributes are applicable to space also. Suppose you throw water. Nothing will happen. The water will come down. Nothing happens to space. Space is all pervading. Space is infinite. Space cannot be divided. And suppose we saw the earlier attributes given in this Upanishad. They are all applicable to space. So suppose we take a pot and then we understand there is space inside and space outside also. When the pot moves, the space doesn't move, but it appears that the space is moving. And when the pot breaks, it is only in the words, in the language, we have to say that the inside space merged into the outside space. The Atma merged into Paramatma. Now it becomes laughable. Just imagine, suppose you have seen one redevelopment. That is one of the best example to see day-to-day life because there are so many buildings going in redevelopment in Ghatkopar, Chembur area. From after this Upanishad, you go and see tomorrow one building which you have seen earlier and see that room where you know somebody was staying. And where is that room? So can we say that their room space got merged with the outside space? No, these are only our words. Aham Brahmasmi. These are only words. And people have different imagination that Atma will come out and then it will merge into Paramatma. Where will it come out and where will it merge? There is nothing called as merging because nothing happened to space, nothing happens to Atma, and that Atma is me. All the time Guruji says that I always think from body, mind, intellect. No, no, no. Atma is me. I'm indivisible. I am undivided. I am all pervading. I cannot be destroyed. I cannot be created. So by thinking this itself, I become fearless. Can we say that space has something outside and inside? Nothing. Can we say there is this east-west direction? This is east, this is west. It is directionless. It is timeless. And that is me. So now one practice Swami Advayananji gives that after this mantra 13 and 14, for some time I used to practice it. It is very, very interesting. All the time I have to tell myself I am the space, not the pot. Now what is a pot? Pot is equal to body, mind, intellect. Various shapes, sizes, qualities, movement, direction can be created, changes and modification. So I'll all the time while walking, thinking, breathing, I must chant this. I am the space, I am not the pot. I am the space, I am not the pot. I am the space, I am not the pot. That is a practice. And then, as Gurudev used to say, we will start laughing. As Gurudev used to say, like there is one phosphorus, nitrogen, oxygen talking to another phosphorus, hydrogen, nitrogen. That is what I see. What a meaningless joke going on. And then we give so much of significance to words and sounds and what people say. From his perspective, one day he was asked, what do you see? No, no, I see one phosphorus, nitrogen talking to another phosphorus and nitrogen. And they're exchanging some sounds. That meaningless it becomes. So space is Atman, pot is body, mind, intellect. And body has six modifications: mind constantly, emotion modification, intellect, constant change in opinion, judgments, concepts. So all this thing is subject to change like a pot. Is the pot in the space or space in the pot? So body, mind, intellect is into Atma or Atma is into body, mind, intellect. Because some people think that, no, Atma is inside me. Where is the Atma? Then people start sitting in the meditation and look inside. Where is the Atma? Atma is inside me or outside me? I am inside Atma or Atma is inside me? This question itself is invalid because there is no inside and outside for the space. In the same way, Atma is all pervading. From Atma point of view, it doesn't matter how many body, mind, intellect dissolves and how many body, mind, intellects are created. For the ocean, it doesn't matter how many bubbles are created, how many bubbles are destroyed. So when the pot is moving, the space also appears to be moving, but it is not. When the pot is broken, nothing happens to the space. So from God's perspective, from Brahman perspective, from Atma perspective, whether creation is there on this Jagata or it dissolved, doesn't matter because it is unimportant, insignificant from the Brahman point of view, Atma point of view, space point of view. So is space is equal to self? No, because all these attributes will be applicable to self, but which is same as space. But the only difference between space and self is what? Sentiency, consciousness. Space is not conscious of itself, but I am conscious of myself. Space is an element, everything exists in space, space exists in everything, but it is not self-illuminating. Spuratirut Swayam Paramapurna Sat, as Ramana Maharshi says, that this is self-illuminating. I don't have to know my own self by another entity. So when the mind dissolves, space also dissolves. So the space is there in the mind. Space element I am talking. Where time and space are located? They are located in the mind, because when mind goes to sleep, there is no time and space when you are deep sleep. When you go to deep sleep, do you know how many hours have slept? No, time is gone. So where the time and space is located? In my mind. The world is located in the space and time, and where the time and mind is located? In my mind. So when the I dissolves, the space and mind also dissolves. So wisdom, knowing that I am not the pot, body, mind, intellect, but I am the space, that is the self. This is a practice. So what is a practice? I am space, I am not the pot. Actually, this is very interesting. Instead of saying I am not the body, I am not the mind, mano buddhi ahankara chittaminam. So we know this. Atma Shatkam, we know Adi Shankaracharya. Exactly this is a practice what has been given there. That I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not this, I am not that. And what am I? Chidananda Rupam Shivoham Shivoham. So why many do not know that there are space and that I am the space and not the pot? The answer is there in the next verse. I think we all know the answer. What is the answer? Answer is ignorance. Tamas. In the in the next verse, it has been given that because of ignorance, and this ignorance is in the nature of tamas, that is a darkness, because of which I do not know that I am space and not the pot. So this is a very, very interesting discussion on avidya, ignorance is coming. There is another very, very mysterious entity called as avidya because Vedanta, why other schools of thought dislike Vedanta? Because they say finally you say whole problem is you bring down to ignorance. What is the cause of action? Thought. What is the cause of thought? Desire. What is the cause of desire? Vasana. What is the cause of vasana? Ignorance. What is the cause of ignorance? No, there is no cause. Where did the ignorance come from? So why am I suffering? Ignorance. So who created ignorance? I created, God created. If God is created, He only should dissolve. How can I dissolve? And how can I create ignorance? Because ignorance precedes Jiva Bhava. Hari Om. So please note what I am saying. This is a big question in Vedanta. What is the ashraya of avidya? Brahmashraya or Jivashraya? It belongs to whom? It belongs to Atma or it belongs to Jiva? Both side arguments are equal. So it's the most frustrating thing in Vedanta to come to avidya. This is one of my favorite topics to discuss because I keep thinking because the whole problem is avidya only. And the whole problem is that I do not know how it is come. So we will see next time that after listening to Tapovan Maharaj for quite some time, Gurudev asked one question on this only. Where did Avidya come from? This question has to come because finally a Vedantic student will come to only one. The whole problem maker is Avidya. And then for homework, you can think what is the difference between Avidya and Adhyasa. What is Avidya and what is Adhyasa? Superimposition. And we suffer because of Avidya or we suffer because of Adhyasa. So this is a homework to think. So next session, we are going to discuss in detail about ignorance. Because the whole cause is ignorance. Till now we have accepted, ignorance is there. We started also, if you see, that ignorance is a cause of suffering. But then what is ignorance? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you very much.